in terms of attendees. So good evening, everyone. My name is Luis Almonte, and I serve as the one of the associate directors of college counseling at the Berkeley Carroll School. I'm delighted to welcome you to tonight's Education Beyond Our Borders virtual panel. And on behalf of the Berkeley Carroll School, the Brooklyn Friends School, Packer Collegiate Institute, and St. Anne's School, we want to thank you for joining us this evening to come and learn about international universities and international education. We're especially pleased to be joined by students and families from all four of our school communities. And we want to give a special thank you to our distinguished admissions panelists from Bocconi University, McMaster University, NYU Abu Dhabi and Shanghai, and University of Sheffield, and our student panelists who are BC alum who are currently attending Minerva University, McGill University, and Trinity College Dublin. We are very grateful for your time and your willingness to share your expertise and experiences with us and our students and families, as we know that this is pivotal information that can really shape somebody's college application process. This evening's program is designed to provide valuable insights into the process of applying to and attending college abroad. Whether you're just beginning to explore international options or deep into the college search, we hope that this panel will broaden your understanding and spark new ideas about what it means to pursue higher education internationally. Tonight's agenda includes introductions of our panelists, and then we'll move into a question and answer portion of the program, which we've prepared some questions beforehand to be able to ask the admissions representatives and current students. And then we will ask the audience members to use the Q&A feature in the webinar. If there are certain questions that you have for the entire panel, or if there are specific schools that you would like to address it to, we welcome you to use that Q&A feature to also include your questions so that we can have them be part of the program as well too. So together we'll explore tonight, we'll present you with a lot of information and hopefully some personal experiences that can help you understand a bit more if an international education is for you or specifically to learn more about these institutions. And together tonight we'll explore the wide range of opportunities available to international students in Canada, China, Italy, Ireland, the United Arab Emirates, and the United Kingdom. And for instance, Minerva University, which has a pretty global network. You'll learn how to prepare your applications. You'll learn about the academic and campus culture of the international universities and schools that are on our panel. And you'll discover ways to fund your education abroad if financial aid is a factor that's a part of your admissions decision. So that being said, we can get started with panel introductions. So we will start with the admissions representatives for the schools. We'll go in alpha order based on the institution name. If you can please let us know your name, the institution that you represent, and a short elevator pitch for the institution that you represent. So we'll start with Bocconi.
Okay, thank you. I am Beata Williams. I am with Bocconi University, located in Milan, Italy. Not unlike my background, I am not in the Bahamas. I'm actually located in freezing Chicago, so that is just my mental health background for winter that I keep up. But a little bit about Bocconi. We are a business school. We were established in 1902. We have 15,000 students. We're located in the heart of Milan, a very open campus to the city, great location, great accessibility. I don't speak a word of Italian, so you know none of the students coming to Bocconi need to speak any Italian. You can get around very easily. And we have 9 programs that are taught entirely in the English language, but they are all business related. And that's kind of it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Next, if the University of Sheffield could introduce themselves, please.
Sure. Thanks, Lewis. Hi, everyone. My name is Haley Drovis. I work for the University of Sheffield, going on year 3 with them, but I've been working for UK universities for the past going on 8 years now. And Sheffield is located in the city of Sheffield in South Yorkshire, so pretty much smack dab in the middle of England itself. The city of Sheffield is the safest large city in the UK, the greenest city in the UK, the steel city of the UK, and one of the top 6 most affordable in the UK. So we have a lot to offer in terms of the city. The university itself is very historical, a founding member of the Russell Group, and we are very well known for our STEM programs. And we are #1 in the entire UK for student experience and our students union. Thanks.
Awesome. Haley, would you be able to explain a bit about what the Russell Group is for the audience members?
Sure, absolutely, Lewis. So the Russell Group is a group of 24 universities in the UK that are very well known for working together in terms of best practices because of our historic research intensiveness within our institutions. So sometimes I hear the comparison between Ivy Leagues in the US to Russell Group in the UK. I would not make that direct comparison, but we are very wonderful institutions, oftentimes very STEM oriented, which of course are the types of courses that usually have that research component attached to them. And we have amazing research coming out of all of the universities, whether it be solely at an institution or collaboratively amongst multiple institutions every year.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Next, we have McMaster University.
Good evening, everyone. And in the time that I have, I just want to quickly share a slide because I think it's maybe easier to portray a picture of McMaster by showing you a picture of McMaster University. My name is Andy. I've been working with students on their journey to McMaster almost the last 18 years, but the last 7 for students from outside of Canada. But on the slide, if you're seeing it, is a photograph of our campus. We're about 45 minutes away west of Toronto and about an hour away from Niagara Falls. We were established in 1887, making us one of the older universities in Canada. We've grown from humble, small origins to a student body that's around 32,000 students in 2025. Our campus, as you see here, is about a 30-acre core as part of a larger 300-acre campus. In 2025, we have over 240,000 alum in about 143 countries as well. Some of these alum, they're doing wonderful work. I was recently informed that with the redesign of LaGuardia Airport in New York, that project was led by a McMaster grad. If you're an iPhone user, the earlier versions of the iPhone charger were designed and patented by a McMaster grad as well. And recently, there's wonderful work being done in terms of vaccination being administered orally versus intravenously. Similar to what Haley mentioned with the Russell Group, McMaster is part of the U15, which is Canada's version of the Russell Group. McMaster has been very fortunate to be ranked among the second most research intensive universities in Canada. There are about 60 universities in Canada. And the city of Hamilton, it's a medium-sized city, about a few years ago, I think about 7 years ago, a reporter from the Times was traveling around the Great Lakes and compared McMaster as the Brooklyn of Toronto in terms of the food and arts culture scene. And because of our proximity to Niagara Falls, we have about 120 waterfalls in and around the city. But looking forward to answering your questions and connecting with you this evening.
Awesome. And then our final university representative, we have representing NYU. If you could introduce yourself, please.
Hi everyone, my name is Ayham. I go by he, him pronouns. I represent, or I'm the assistant director of admissions for NYU Abu Dhabi, but I'm based in New York City and I'm actually an alum of NYU Abu Dhabi. So to give you a brief overview, NYU or New York University has 3 main global campuses around the world that students can apply to. The New York City campus, the one in Abu Dhabi, the United Arab Emirates, and the one in Shanghai, China. A brief overview of NYU Abu Dhabi. It's a little bit smaller than New York, so we're around 2,000 students on campus. And there's over 26 majors that students can basically major in, from the sciences, the humanities, to the arts and social sciences. And Abu Dhabi is a liberal arts school, so that means when you come in undecided, then you have up to 2 years to declare what major you want. Like the city of Abu Dhabi, NYU Abu Dhabi is a very diverse university. So we have over 125 countries represented in our student body. And that's kind of the environment that you get to be exposed to. If you've never been to Abu Dhabi before, it's a very beautiful city. It's very similar to Miami. It's a beach city. So right now, actually, the weather there is beautiful and you can go to the beach. The beach is 5 minutes away from campus. And NYU is located in the culture district of the city. So you're next to the Louvre, the Guggenheim, and other museums, and you get to be exposed to so many different opportunities and things within Abu Dhabi, and within the NYU Global Network. English is still the main language of instruction at NYU Abu Dhabi, and when you graduate with a New York University degree. Excited to answer any questions you might have about the student experience or applying to NYU Abu Dhabi.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So next we'll introduce our 3 student panelists who are all BC alums, and we were very happy to see. So up first, we have Trinity College Dublin.
Hi, I'm Teddy. I'm a second year student at Trinity College Dublin. I study environmental science and engineering. Um, Trinity is it's a mid-sized school. It's like 15,000 people. It's also pretty old, founded in, I think it was 1492. And the campus kind of reflects that. It's also pretty old and beautiful. Um, at Trinity, there's about 15% or so people from outside the EU, and even more of that from inside the EU but outside of Ireland. So it's a pretty international university as well. But it still has an Irish feel to it. And Dublin's a great city as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Teddy. It's a pleasure to see you. Up next, we have Minerva University.
Hello, my name is Van. I'm a second year student at Minerva University and I study computer science. So Minerva is a US institution accredited, but with a global rotation program and an international student body. So every year we go to a different country. So I'm currently based in Tokyo, but the third year students are in Buenos Aires in Argentina. And the fourth year students are right now in Taipei. But next semester I'm also moving to India. So there's options to petition for where you go. It's a really fun structure. But with this structure, we don't have a traditional campus. We partner with universities in the cities that we're based in, and we have access to all their facilities, and we connect with the students there. So you get a very immersive experience in whatever country you're in. It's a very small school. The total undergraduate student body is about 600 students, but my cohort, so the students in Tokyo right now, is just 130, but we have over 40 countries represented in our cohort. And classes are small. They're all around 20 students, discussion based. So in many of my classes, every student will be from a different country. And because it's discussion based, personal experiences from these students get brought into the classroom. So you really get to learn from your classmates, which is very immersive. And Minerva is also named the most innovative university in the world by WURI for 4 years in a row, which is super cool.
Cool. Awesome. I'm so jealous. You're racking up so many passport stamps. And last but not least, we have McGill University.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mia. I study bioresource engineering at McGill. We are a pretty big school, 40,000 students split between two campuses, and that includes postgrad students. We have a lot of research on our campus, a lot of students studying STEM, but also arts and languages. Something interesting about our campus located in Montreal is we are a part of the larger Quebec. So not only are students speaking and learning in English, but also in French, as we have a lot of French residents. Overall, the campus is quite beautiful, old as well, located near Old Port, which is Old Montreal. I'm studying at the agricultural campus, which is 20 minutes outside of Montreal. So we have about 150 hectares. I don't know what that is in acres. I'm already adjusting to the Canadian metric system, but so quite a large amount of agriculture over here. And yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So as you see, we have a fabulous panel with tons of experiences and varied locations. So we're going to jump right into our question and answer portion of tonight's program. So audience members, if you want to start utilizing the Q&A feature now or as the program goes on, feel free to put your questions into the Q&A. Otherwise, I'll be moderating the panel and leading with our questions. If you all have tons of questions, we'll be using the ones that you're all asking. Otherwise, we've had some preset questions that we will use throughout the program. So the first question is just thinking about applying to a international university. What is the application process like for US students applying internationally? And what would you say is the most major difference for your institution versus applying for a US student applying for a US institution? Mia.
For me, well, in general, I found that with applying internationally, there are different kind of systems. So like UCAS, you might have heard of, or things like that, that group university applications together. And they all have their own individual questions, asking for, maybe a holistic question or something that's personal to your, experience. But in terms of McGill, It was just grades based. So when you applied, you just sent in your grades, which as a student who's always like been told like grades are not everything, that's kind of scary to hear. But it did really make the application process easier and it was quite quick to hear back from this as well.
Awesome. Haley?
Sure. I figured it was good for me to jump in since I can speak on the application platform that we utilize for all of the UK. So England, Wales, Northern Ireland, and Scotland. So we utilize something called UCAS, UCAS, and kind of think of it like the UK's version of the Common App, but the major difference is that you can only apply to up to 5 choices, and you have to rank them by your first choice, and insurance backup choice, and then your choices 3 through 5. So it's really important to be strategic in terms of who you decide to apply to or what chosen course you decide to apply to. And it is one personal statement across all 5 choices. So again, you really have to narrow it down and know what you want to study. And one other thing just to add, so England, Wales, and Northern Ireland are all on a 3-year bachelor's with no gen ed. So you jump right into your major coursework. Whereas Scotland, fun fact, the US copied Scotland, and that's how the US got our 4-year structure here stateside. So Scotland's still on a 4-year degree.
Great. Beata?
Thanks, Lewis. So I'll speak just briefly for Bocconi, right? We have our own application portal, and much like McGill, mostly it's based on grades. We have a couple of programs that might require essays, but the reality is that Bocconi really admits students based on their grades and then their standardized exam scores. And we do have just one program that is a joint degree with the University of Southern California and Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. That is on the Common App, and that is a much more holistic application process. But for the other 8 programs that Bocconi has, very straightforward, mostly grades and standardized exam based.
Andy?
I'll add to what Mia and Beata mentioned as it relates to McMaster University, very similar admissions journey in that it's focused heavily on academic performance, but there are some of the more competitive programs, some of our STEM degrees like engineering, integrated biomedical engineering, nursing. There is an additional component. In the case of our engineering degrees, there's a recorded video interview where students log into a portal, and that's taken into consideration. One of our more competitive, the most competitive program we offer, Honors Health Sciences, has a set of written submissions that are taken into consideration. But overall in Canada, what you'll find is very transparent process where those academic ranges and expectations for performance are published. And if a student is achieving well above that, generally you'll find that it's a favorable and straightforward journey.
Awesome. Dan?
Yeah, Minerva's application is quite different. So I thought I'd jump in here. They try to make it very accessible. So there's no application fee. And there's also no standardized test scores required because every student who's applying has the same application process, and not everyone has access to the SAT, ACT kind of thing. And there's also no like standardized English test, so it brings in a lot of students who wouldn't have access otherwise. And then the application process is you just list like accomplishments, so things that you're proud of, 3 to 6. So there's no standard essay, but this could be like research experience you have, a part-time job you've had. Kind of similar to the activities in the Common App, but with a bit more detail. And then they have their own set of tests that you don't need to prepare for that probably take about an hour to do, where you like write a short essay and then do some like math problems. So there's no prep needed for that. And then just the general background of your school and grades. And then they don't consider like letters of recommendation.
Cool. Ayo?
Yeah, so for us, it's actually pretty similar to US University. So you do apply through the Common App and you select New York University as your option to apply. And then from there, you rank which university you want to be considered for primarily, NYU, Abu Dhabi, Shanghai, or New York. It is a pretty holistic process. So we will evaluate your essays, your extracurriculars, and your grades. And NYU is test optional for the next 2 years at least. So you don't have to submit standardized testing if you don't want to. And we do require at least one letter of recommendation. And ELT if you need to submit English language testing. The only difference about NY Abu Dhabi's evaluation process is that after you finish your common application, a select number of students will be invited to come to campus for candidate weekend. So it's an all expense paid trip for you to spend the weekend at NY Abu Dhabi, and you will undergo a series of activities from exploring the city and exploring the campus. You will be interviewed by our faculty and staff members. So it will be a two-way evaluatory process where we are evaluating, of course, but it's also an evaluatory process for you, the student, to see if this is a fit for you or if this is a place that you would call home. And after Canada Weekend is when basically the decisions would come out. But yeah, that's our process in a nutshell.
Awesome. So as you can see, it's gonna vary, and I think eventually you'll all learn that admission's favorite answer is gonna be it depends. So it's gonna depend from school to school and also country to country. The United States is much more holistic in the way that they do things, meaning that they're gonna look at the quantitative but also the qualitative. But more often than not, international universities are much more clear cut, and they will be much more upfront with GPA requirement, academic rigor that they're looking for, things of that nature, which make things a bit more streamlined. Our second question is for our current students or anybody else that this applies to, but what inspired you to apply and attend an international university? Mia.
Personally, I'm somebody who really likes change and trying to push myself outside of my comfort zone. Now, that doesn't always have to equate to going and living internationally, but for me, I thought that, just trying and seeing if I liked any of the other international schools would pique my interest, and it did. Um, with McGill, what I really liked was that it has both parts from like similarities with Manhattan. It's in the heart of Montreal, big city, bustling city, a lot of people everywhere. But also, you do get the calming agricultural aspects that I can get. I'm also from Connecticut, so there's more greenery over there. So I really appreciated how Montreal was not only a large city, but also had those like more greenery, calming aspects. And then for me, it was such a diverse city. When I first visited it, I heard more than 5 different languages of conversations happening around me within the first like 20 minutes of being on campus. And as somebody who also studied languages at my high school, Berkeley Carroll, I really like was drawn to that aspect as well. Yeah.
Van?
Yeah, I think I wanted to be around students with very different perspectives to me and backgrounds. I know depending on like where you grow up, just the ideas about you that you have about the world can be very different. And I wanted to be exposed to people who had grown up completely differently from me. So that was my number one requirement when applying was for the school to have an international student body. So whether that was in the U.S. with a school that was very international or outside the U.S. But that's what I was looking for, and so those were the schools I applied to.
I agree with Van and also Mia. I think I've always loved like engaging with other cultures and meeting people from everywhere around the world. So I was really looking for a university where I could meet, where the people sitting next to me in class are from around the world. And specifically Trinity because it's in Ireland, and it's in the EU. So that means, 20 euro flights to Spain for the weekend and stuff like that. But yeah.
Awesome. Our next question is thinking about your school's curriculum, how flexible is your academic curriculum regarding course selection or major? Do you have to know what it is that you want to major in prior to applying? Do you have wiggle room to be able to take classes outside of your major? If you can talk a little bit about that. Yes, Andy.
With most of our programs, the way the structure is aligned is most students enter into a foundational first year. It'll be somewhat related to if you're interested in science versus engineering or health sciences or social sciences or liberal arts. But after that foundational first year, close to the end is when most students choose a combination of majors or particular majors that they're interested in. But it allows for a lot of exploration for those students who are unsure, want an opportunity to really try and learn more about a field before committing the subsequent years into it. There are also some very unique combination as well. So our integrated business and humanities degree, that's an approach to business that focuses more on the social justice aspects of business, looking at the influence on the environment as well as the employees and those supporting an organization. There are engineering options. There's the ability to blend management and engineering, as well as engineering and society, which allows students to evaluate the implications of what engineers do and how that influences the world around us. But for the most part, there's lots of ability to explore. And if you change your mind, switching is always possible. It might be that you're graduating slightly later than anticipated.
So, Haley.
Yeah, so jumping back into how I previously mentioned, so England, Wales, and Northern Ireland are all on a 3-year bachelor's degree. With that being said, it means that unfortunately there isn't any wiggle room and you do not have the option or opportunity to apply and come in undecided to start university. So if you're applying to those 3 countries, you do have to know exactly what you want to study. And on the UCAS application, I had said 5 choices, not 5 universities, because you're always applying directly to that chosen course or area of study, not just the university itself. So you really do have to ensure that if you're interested in any of those 3 countries, that you know exactly what you want to study and you don't plan on changing your mind and you're dead set on this is what I want to do during school and hopefully post school with your career goals. Whereas Scotland is going to have that wiggle room with their 4-year degree structure. Typically, you don't have to completely firm up your chosen major or course until end of year 2 or by year 2. So Scotland does have wiggle room, but unfortunately the other 3 don't. But that does mean that it is accelerated and you are finishing a whole year before your peers from high school that study at a 4-year course. So it's a great fit for the right student.
Mia.
So for McGill, typically, if you didn't take APs, A levels, French back, or have similar standardized or testing experiences, you would go in as a U0, similar to McMaster. The difference here is, and then you're taking a 4-year program. If you did have APs or you did decide to take them, you would go into U1, and then you would immediately be taking classes of, your interested faculty or school, I guess is what it's called. So faculty or School of Science, Arts, Engineering, etc. For engineering specific, you do have to apply directly. Even if you wanted to be if you're coming in as a U0 student, you have to apply directly to the Faculty of Engineering, simply because your classes will be tailored from day one of taking courses. In terms of flexibility, engineering less so, simply because you do have a lot of required courses that you have to take specific to what you're learning. In terms of Faculty of Arts, medicine, business, etc. Medicine, maybe not so, but business and arts, there's a lot of leeway when it comes to what courses you can take. And there's a variety of different courses that can pertain to certain passions that you might have.
Teddy.
Yeah, so similar to a lot of others, you have to apply for a specific program at Trinity. But there are a bunch of programs, mostly in the arts and humanities, where you apply and it's a very broad first year, and then second, third, fourth year, you specialize deeper. But every program that you're in is going to have a few electives and open modules that you can take. For example, my first ever chosen module will happen next semester. I'm taking Korean. A little bit scared, but I think it'll be fun. But it's mostly classes being chosen for you until the later years.
Ayam.
Yeah, so our programs are pretty flexible. So as I mentioned, you are happy to declare your major when you come on campus, but at the same time you don't have to. So you have up to 2 years to really explore what you want to do, and we understand that you are a young individual, things change, and your mind might change when coming in versus when you leave the university. So we want to give you the flexibility to be able to choose your program. So at NYU Abu Dhabi or Shanghai, you can double major, you can major minor, double major minor, and you can do your major as well as take whatever electives you want to take. So, for example, when I was a student, I had majored in biology, but I also minored in Arab Crossroads Studies, and I had electives in theater, in the arts, in social sciences. I did an art history class in Florence, Italy. So it's very different from what my major was, but we do want to allow you to have that flexibility to be able to explore other curricula that you might be interested in.
Perfect. Beata?
Thank you. So I think Bocconi might be the only one that's a little bit different. So most of our programs are 3 years long. We are based on the European model, which means that we do not have a first year that is a general studies year. So our students go directly into their field of study, right? So if they're going to be doing our Bachelor of Science in Finance, they're just going to go right into all of their business school courses. They will not take a psychology class. They will not take an intro to philosophy. They will not have a kiddie physics. None of that. They will literally just go right into their field of study.
Perfect. Andy?
If I may, I just want to clarify for students where if you are attempting to remove that additional year, throughout Canada it is possible, depending on the curriculum you follow, whether it's AP or French Bac or International Baccalaureate. There is the possibility to be reviewed for advanced credit, which at most universities will vary. In the case of McMaster, typically if you receive full credits, that'll remove about half of your year one at the university. And so that if that's of importance to students that are listening and watching, certainly exploring the advanced credit piece at the universities that are on our list would be a strong recommendation of mine.
Cool. Yeah, in our experience, in my experience, speaking from the perspective, working as a college counselor with students, um, I think students are looking at international universities for the most part have to be pretty confident in what it is that they want to study. There are some schools or some countries that allow a bit more flexibility. But for instance, like the UK model, or for instance, Bocconi's model, it would be very difficult halfway into your degree to realize that you want to be a different major because then that would mean starting all over. But the good thing about international universities is that there's different systems that will allow students the flexibility to change their mind and have a bit more of a foundation alongside their major, or for the students that just kind of want to get in and get out, do 3 years, have cheaper tuition. A lot of times that can be an option as well too. So, switching gears a bit to think about, outside of academics, students that are studying their major, what would you say are notable opportunities for students to develop more professionally at your institution? So, thinking about internships, research opportunities, advising, um, things of that nature that are available at your school or that maybe that you've taken advantage of that are setting students up for success post-graduation. Van?
Yeah, so because Minerva has this program called Civic Projects, where in each city that we operate in, we have partner organizations that offer projects to students. So last year, the first year is in San Francisco, and you select like some topics that you're interested in that may be related to your major or just anything else you want to explore. So my team got partnered with Adobe, and we did a project where we proposed like some gamification modifications to their internal employee app, and we're able to like present our project ideas to their company. And there's different opportunities like that in every city that you're in, which is really cool. So you get a lot of international experience, and you can like if you find a project that you really want to commit to, you can also stay in that city where you've made that partnership after you can tell the university like I have this partnership, I want to stay and continue working with them. So I have some friends who are doing research at Stanford because they had a good partnership there and they chose to stay.
Beata? I don't know if that was the hand up from the prior question or.
Oh yeah, no problem. So, I mean, what I would say at Bocconi is we have a lot of recruiting events on campus and all over Europe, actually. So I think our biggest competitive advantage is if students are really interested in pursuing a career in Europe, it is really 1,000 times easier from a place like Bocconi than it will be from any institution in the United States. Also, something to add is that our students will also have a visa that permits them to work after they graduate. I believe it's about 18 months. So hopefully, if the students do want to stay in Europe, then they secure a role with a company within that 18-month time period. And parents, close your ears. But most of our students do not come back to the United States right after they graduate. So that's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Andy.
So there are numerous opportunities for students joining us in terms of engaging outside of traditional academics. Engineering, for example, in the last several years has introduced project design courses where the students are working with real clients. In the last couple of years, some of our students have developed prototype bionic arms to support clients with mobility issues, their community engagement projects in both the health sciences and liberal arts type degrees, as well as internship and co-op work opportunities, all of which are paid. In fact, I think in Canada, it's illegal for them to be unpaid. To really connect with the students are pursuing in the classroom and how that translates to industry. With our research profile at McMaster as well, there's also opportunities built into the academic journey of students to get engaged in research directly from year one in some cases, as well as paid opportunities in the summer and options where students design their own research interests and are funded for that through what we call undergraduate summer research awards. Beyond typical exchanges, there are many, many different ways to engage outside of the classroom.
Perfect. Mia.
So for McGill, speaking as an engineering student, in general, outside of McGill, it seems like internships are always very competitive with engineering, but I've actually found that McGill's resources make it quite easy to get internships as well as job opportunities. So within my first year, I got an internship unpaid for a lab, working in a lab with one of my professors, simply by just being overzealous and eager and asking, and showing my, um, how much I like what I'm learning. So that's quite easy. And now I'm being paid for that and I'm staying over the summer. Something that's really interesting that McGill does is not only can you get paid by, your professor if you're working for them in a lab, but the school can also give you money to pay for, your groceries, your transportation for however long you're staying. And that internship can also turn into credits for your the overall amount of credits that you need to graduate. And then every semester there's a like CV, how to write a CV, how to get prepared for an interview, stuff run by student affairs. On top of this, throughout the year, we have varying levels of speed networking events happening. So, for instance, for engineering in January, there's a really large speed networking event that's quite popular that happens, bringing in um, so many different companies, not only within Canada, but also international companies. And then on top of this, there's two, academic aspects. The first main one is students have this design course, 3 levels that they take throughout their all of their 3 or 4 years for engineering. In particular, um, I already designed something on my campus that's fixing irrigation systems within our agricultural system, so within our farms. And when I get to my Design 2 class, I'm actually going to be able to implement that and, take my design process outside of the classroom, which to me is quite, exciting and incredible. I didn't think I would ever have that opportunity. And then there's also a capstone project at the end of the year for a lot of students in STEM, in which they would partner with a company outside of McGill. And a lot of the times that results in students getting jobs from those companies.
Ion?
Yeah, very briefly. So NYUW actually has an office called the Career Development Center, and they're basically dedicated to mentor you throughout your 4 years on, writing your resume, cover letters, applying for jobs. They also host semesterly career fairs on campus, if you're interested in medicine after, there is a pre-med track program that the CDC kind of takes care of, as well as similar to Mia's with Miguel and grants for internships. And WWW also does provide grants in case you need like financial support throughout your internship for housing or for food and expenses. You can apply for that grant and basically, be able to afford going to that internship during the summer or throughout the semester. NYU is also a research university, so research is very much a core thing of what we do. And there's a lot of research opportunities on campus for students to be able to, utilize by interacting with faculty, whether it's like scientific research or art or social sciences or humanities. It's really all across the divisions. A really cool example in engineering is there's a class called Engineering for Good or Engineering Ethics where for 1 week, the students are actually flown out to Jordan and Indonesia and Thailand, and then they actually build a house for underprivileged communities. And they learn kind of like the A to Z kind of process of how to build a house throughout the week. So that's one of the many opportunities that NYW students get exposed to. In addition to that, the global network. So NYU students are encouraged to study abroad to to one of our 13 different locations around the world. So NYW students can come to New York, or they can go to Italy or Ghana to kind of like explore that certain country, but at the same time do internships and really immerse themselves in that certain location as well. So definitely plenty of opportunities for students throughout their 4 years.
Awesome. Yeah, it's so refreshing to see like varying size institutions offer so many opportunities for students to take advantage of, to develop as students, to develop as humans, but also as professionals in their intended field of study. Which is great to see because some of these institutions are quite large, but they do offer intimate professional opportunities for students to take advantage of, which is awesome. We have a question in the Q&A portion that I'm going to answer. So it's how do transcripts get translated into the different grading systems? Is it something our school does? Is it something the respective Brooklyn school, independent school does, or do the admissions teams have a system? And then an additional question from St. Anne's, a St. Anne's family asking, how does that work for St. Anne's students who don't have traditional grades? So, if it's a application process, that's not a school that accepts a transcript. So there are some schools where, for instance, in the US, we'll send supporting documents along with a student's application process. And typically it's a school profile, a transcript. The school profile will detail a school's educational curriculum and philosophy, special opportunities, things of that nature. And then the transcript are the actual grades and classes that your student has taken. If it's not a school that allows that, typically it's a self-report system that students can do. So, for instance, in the UCAS, students can put all their classes and their grades. I know McGill has something called Minerva where they actually are able to self-report their grades. The type of class it is, the title of the class, the level of the class, whether that's AP Honors, IB, Advanced, Standard Level, College Prep, and they're able to input all their information themselves. And if there is an opportunity for an international university for the college or for the respective high school to send their school profile, we also do that as well too. And then specifically for St. Anne's, St. Anne's is pretty familiar with navigating the UCAS and international universities. So even though there is no GPA or standard traditional grades, they navigate those processes just fine. They know the application process pretty well, and they help their students explain their narrative-based transcripts on an individual process based on the student as well as the institution that they're applying for. So for rising seniors, St. Anne's does a workshop on the UCAS in late August, and they walked all the students through the application step by step. So hopefully that's a blanket statement for everybody. But as we said, most of the things for international schools are self-reported, which makes the process a little bit easier. But for instance, NYU, it's more of a holistic process where you're actually sending documents. So switching gears a bit, so thinking about your school's culture and traditions and clubs and organizations, what would you say are really popular organizations that students are joining on campus or traditions that they're taking part of, or something unique or quirky about your school's culture that you are very proud of or that you have found to be a positive experience representing the school or attending the school? Yes, Van.
I can start off. So Minerva has a lot of traditions that involve our cultures. So one of my favorites is called 1001s, which are presentations that students who are from the same country will do a presentation overview or have activities or dance, and they always make dishes from their home country. So just this weekend we had a Vietnam 1001, which talked a lot about the Vietnam War, and they made pho. And we also had a Kyrgyzstan 1001, which gave like an overview, which were countries that I was not very familiar with before studying, but now they're my classmates. So those are great opportunities. And then in terms of organizations, it's very student led because you're mostly interacting just within your own cohort. So there are some cross class cohort like Langs, which is like the language one. So they'll set up language classes where students who speak that language as a first language will teach students who are learning that language. But for instance, this semester we're in Tokyo, and some of my classmates started a production company, and so they're hosting this event called Youth Ocean Summit. They've partnered with UN University, and have found experts in Japan to regarding the ocean and research. So students from both Minerva and Japan will go, and I'm doing like outreach and running a workshop there. But there's so many events like this that students are always creating, and the school helps connect us with their resources to bring our ideas to life, which is an amazing environment to be a part of.
Nice. Man, just personal question. Did you brush up on your Japanese before you got to Tokyo, or are you kind of navigating it as you go?
For the first 2 months, I was going to like 5 classes a week. I was really trying, and then Minerva's very hard academically, so like November hit, and I was like, okay, time to lock in with my assignments. Minerva doesn't have tests, but we have assignments that can take like 10 to 50 hours, depending on what it is. So that less so now, but some people have kept it up with they're amazing.
Sounds good. I'm sure you're gonna be fluent by the time you're done. Haley.
Yeah, so at Sheffield, with us for the past 8 years being the #1 students' union in the UK, the students' union at every campus in the UK is where all of our clubs and societies are housed. And we, of course, have a very popular tea society, shocker, and our K-pop society is very popular. And we have a lot of clubs and societies that are geared towards your chosen majors, so maybe robotics if you're in engineering, but we also have a lot of other opportunities for students to engage or put themselves out there. So one that is very popular and actually has a wait list to join every semester is our Duck Society. And it's basically where students get together and go to all of our local parks all around campus and feed the ducks in a calming, quiet, low anxiety environment. So it's really great for our students that maybe are very introverted or neurodivergent or have high anxiety, for them to still be able to engage with others in a calming environment.
Awesome. I'll go left to right from what I can see. Teddy.
So most of the student life in Trinity is focused around clubs and societies. Being, over 500 years old, we have a lot of them, and a lot of them are very old. I think we have the oldest student society in the world, which is the University Philosophical Society. And they're a debating society, and they put on these big, funny debates, talking about anything ranging from should we demolish the bar on campus to should we turn to nuclear power? And they're a big event. About 500 people go to each one. And it's a great way for students to get involved in campus life and things like that. And in terms of broader events on campus throughout the year, I think everyone always looks forward to T-Ball, Trinity Ball. The whole campus gets transformed into these 5 different stages, and we get some pretty big name acts coming to us. I think we had Charli XCX a few years ago, but I don't think we could book her now. But yeah, the student life on Trinity it's very, very lively.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna get her after she dropped Brat. It's like, Andy.
So one of my favorite McMaster traditions that has been happening for decades now is our orientation week. There's some research out there that shows if you have a strong onboarding of students, they are much more likely to succeed throughout their journey. And McMaster has invested heavily in our orientation week. It's a combination of celebration of the students' academic journey and arrival, but also lots of programming in terms of time management and how to make that transition transition successfully from post-secondary to secondary studies. Over the years, they've been fun activities. In the last several years, I've noticed silent discos. I think about 7 or 8 years ago, Post Malone came to perform for us, and so it's a great start to the year. There's other more internationally oriented activities. One is called Taste of Home, where students share recipes with our chefs, and so we recreate that so that the entire campus community can sample the 120 plus countries that are represented here on the McMaster campus. Every March, there's another international focus activity called Pangea in our Students' Union building. All of the meeting rooms are transitioned into pavilions where the cultural clubs showcase the various regions of the world where they hail from. It's a great way if you're a foodie to basically go from room to room, sample different recipes from around the world without leaving the comfort of that building. There's also over 270 plus student clubs, whether it's social issues or religious or political clubs, where students can connect with others who are very like-minded.
Awesome. Mia?
So on top of all the student societies, I'll do like one honorable mention for me was Haven, which was like this society that groups all the resources at McGill from all the different student services because student services partner with each faculty. So like faculty of law has their own student services, agricultural faculty has their own student services, etc. So there they group all of the student services pretty much together, and it's run by a council of older fourth year students that gets passed down every year. I found that really nice because McGill has so many like opportunities and so many resources, but they're spread out everywhere. And Haven in particular made it really accessible for me. And then in terms of outside of clubs, there's a few things. One that I really enjoy is science games, and there's also arts games in which all of the majors under science, so math, physics, engineering, etc., compete against each other for a week, doing varying activities. And then there's also another big tradition is Frosh, which is a very large like orientation run by students for incoming students. So it's just like an opportunity to not only get to know people within your major and within your faculty, but also across other faculties, making it really easy to not only make friends who are close to you, but also across different majors and things like that.
That sounds awesome. Lots of intermingling, which is really, really cool. Beata?
Okay, and I'll keep it short, but because Bocconi's location is right in the heart of the city of Milan, which is a very cosmopolitan, sophisticated city with 4,500 multinational companies located there. It's a design, fashion, technology center. There is a very, very vibrant nightlife that the students take advantage of. There's also 10 universities that are located in Milan. So there are 200,000 students running around the city. So it's super safe, but again, just very vibrant. And because we have 100 countries represented on our campus, we are very international. Our students just get a very international immersion in all of the student clubs. And then it's super easy and relatively, very inexpensive for US students to travel to other cities in Italy and quite frankly to other cities in Europe.
Awesome. So we're coming up on close to time, so we probably have time for about two more questions. So there's one question in the chat regarding AP exams. So I'll kind of give a blanket statement, and then if AP exams or testing is a part of your school's admissions process, you're more than welcome to speak up as well too. So for some schools, I would say this is more common internationally in Europe. There are some schools that require AP exams. I would say most times on average, they want around 3 to 5 AP exams in addition to the application process. Scores can usually range depending on program or selectivity of the institution. There are times where a school might have some wiggle room with AP exams. So if there's a particular SAT score or ACT score, they might be able to use that in conjunction with maybe two or AP exams with an SAT or an ACT. So there's sometimes where you can kind of mix and match. There are also some schools that understand that some schools don't have an AP curriculum or the students don't have a large opportunity to take AP exams. So sometimes some schools are pretty lenient with working with a student that's in that predicament. Or they might be looking for other things. So they might be looking for certain grades in certain honors level classes or a bit of a higher GPA. But some schools are very strict and there is no way around the AP exams requirements. So it's all case by case from school to school. Um, and I would say I think each of our schools has different avenues for students to take AP exams or different access to be able to take AP exams. So this is all case by case with something that I would encourage all of you to reach out to the college counseling team at your school. But the kind of simple and short answer, some schools are very strict with AP, some have some wiggle room and flexibility, some you can apply without APs at all. So for instance, like on this panel alone, Trinity College Dublin and McGill University, you do not need APs. Versus some other schools where you might. If there are any schools on the panel where APs are required, would you be willing to kind of speak on terms of how flexible you all are with your AP, if you are, and then what your requirements are? Beata?
Yes. So I actually responded in the chat as well. But for Bocconi, unfortunately, because we're bound by the Italian Ministry of Education requirements, we have no flexibility. We have to have three past AP exams by the end of senior year for our students. And that doesn't mean that the students have to take the AP coursework, right? But they do have to figure out a way to take the exams. And what I always suggest is if you, if students really want to come to Bocconi, that they should at least pass one exam by the end of their junior year so that Bocconi can determine like a prediction of how they're going to do on the last two AP exams by their senior year. Or if they've taken more than, one or two by junior year, that's fantastic. But yeah, it is a very strict requirement along with an ACT, SAT, or we have something called a Bocconi test. And that is probably not going away anytime soon, is what I would say.
Awesome. Thanks. Haley?
Yeah, so at Sheffield, we do require something. APs are one of the considerations, and what we require for the score and the topic of the AP will depend course to course. So obviously, if you're applying for history, it'll be a different requirement than if you're applying for mechanical engineering. But it doesn't just mean APs. We will also widely accept dual enrollment and external university, or even community college classes. So even if you can go to your local CUNY, even online, SUNY, whatever the case is, we would even accept that. But we are making great strides. I've worked really hard over the past few years, and I will say as of 2026, I got my admissions and qualifications team to agree to accept a grade A in the AP course itself. So that's a great opportunity for those that aren't great test takers and aren't sure that they can get the 5 or the 4 in the AP. So I'm hopeful that the next thing will jump in terms of progress is being able to just widely accept more honors curriculums. The thing is, things are always changing. And one thing that I really like to preface is for the UK, one university that requires these strict APs does not mean it's 10 times better than a university that doesn't. We all just have different entry criteria, but you might find that a university that isn't requiring heavy APs or SAT, ACT scores may be the #1 university in the UK or Europe for a specific area of study. So it's really important to do your research based off of that course, and then widen the search to, okay, who will accept my entry criteria.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Andy?
I wanted to reiterate them. APs are not required at McMaster, but for those students who are considering perhaps a STEM type degree, so science, engineering, those subjects, presenting APs results in a more streamlined admissions journey for you, where you're not necessarily requiring additional documentation. I think you alluded to that earlier, where if you have to, if you don't have a traditional AP curriculum, you might have to send documentation. So it's that avoiding some additional upfront steps for you, but it is certainly not required here at McMaster.
Awesome. The second to last question, well, last two questions, we'll ask about financial aid and cost of attendance, and then just advice for any students considering applying or attending an international university. So this probably might be a better question for the admissions representatives, but students feel free to chime in if you feel knowledgeable about this area. But what would you say roughly is your cost of attendance in terms of tuition and just overall cost of attendance? And what opportunities in terms of scholarship and financial aid are available for international students from the United States? Beata?
Okay, so this is where we really have a competitive advantage. Bocconi's tuition is actually a huge value for any US family. It is currently at around 18,000 euros. So just to put that into perspective, you can complete your entire Bachelor of Science degree for the cost of 1 year at a University of Southern California, or 1 year at the University of Michigan, or 1 year at the University of Virginia, or Tulane, or NYU. Sorry. But yeah, so almost any other university in the United States is going to be more expensive than a Bocconi education. And what people find also very surprising is the cost of living in Milan is also very inexpensive. So students can pay approximately 1,200 euros per month for their own studio apartment that is quite modern, quite clean, and very close walking distance to campus. We do have dorms that are less than that, but it is very, very affordable.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. So for Sheffield, our tuition ranges from area of study or course to course. So for our courses like history, information sciences, the tuition is going to be lower, more around 23 to 24,000 British pounds sterling per academic year. Whereas if you look at our astrophysics, our aerospace engineering, those courses, and our architecture are going to be at 30,000 pounds per year. And then we can guarantee on-campus accommodation, all single bedroom, to all international students every year of their studies. We're very fortunate to have enough really lovely accommodation for that every year. And depending on if you want your own ensuite bathroom or not, that can range from between 7,000 to 12,000 pounds per year. And then again, we're one of the top 6 most affordable cities in the UK. So it's very affordable to live and eat well in Sheffield. So all in, I like to say that US and US dollar equivalent, students are looking at paying a range of between 35 to 45 upwards. If you eat, you're someone who eats out every meal, around 50,000 USD per year, but that would be very much on the high end. And then we accept FAFSA, US federal loans, and we have an automatic undergraduate international student scholarship available that you would receive every year. Thanks.
Awesome. Andy?
So the range for McMaster varies by degree as well. Typically, you'll find amounts ranging from low 30,000 to 40,000 USD per year, depending on the degree. Engineering tends to be on the higher end, closer to 50,000 USD, as those students are taking a heavier course load. If there are any Canadians watching, there's also strong subsidies that Canadian universities receive from our governments that we pass on to students. And so certainly it's worth investigating Canada if you are the holder of a Canadian passport. In terms of covering that cost, I'm thrilled to share that McMaster has introduced about a dozen or so. We refer to them as our McMaster Award of Excellence, which effectively covers all of your tuition fees for students who are leaders in their community, who are strong academically, and really align with the values that McMaster hold, including excellence and innovation. And in fact, tomorrow I'll be hosting a webinar on our website, future.mcmaster.ca, to delve into some of the financial components of the journey. And so if you are interested in Canada, certainly feel free to join. Beyond that, there's also opportunities to leverage FAFSA. So McMaster is part of that mechanism where students can obtain a loan in the US to be able to cover their costs. And similarly, although we're close proximity to Toronto, the cost of living traditionally is lower than living in the city center. Housing, a full year of on-campus accommodations is around 6,000 USD, a couple other thousand for food. And generally speaking, a bit more affordable than living closer to downtown Toronto.
Awesome. I am.
Yeah, so for us, tuition is roughly around $65,000 a year, and there is financial aid available. So financial aid at NYUW is need-based. So the way it works is that after you submit your application, you apply through the CSS profile, which is basically a form on College Board where you put your financial income and your parents' financial income, and that's how your scholarship is determined. So we are flexible and generous with our financial aid. So it can go from you having to pay full tuition to your full tuition, room and board, and kind of meal plan being covered by us. It just really depends on your financial need and your financial situation, of how your financial aid package will be adjusted. You are required to room on campus or to dorm in the university dorms, and they're basically doubles or singles. And it's an apartment style. So each apartment has two bathrooms, either four rooms if it's a single or two rooms if it's a double. And then there's like a living area. And of course, there's a full kitchen within the building and laundry and all of that fun stuff. But yeah, so we are in NYU Abu Dhabi is need blind, which means that financial need is not going to be an effect to your application decision. NYU Shanghai and NYU New York are need sensitive, so it can be considered or it can be part of the decision process. But yeah.
Awesome. Teddy.
So in terms of like the total price for me, I pay around $40,000 US dollars a year to go to Trinity, that housing and tuition. But something really unique about Trinity is that in the winter of your second year, which is me right now, you have the opportunity to take these exams, the scholarship exams, which sort of go really deep into everything that you've been taught over the past 2 years or over the past like year and a half. And if you do well enough on these exams, then you get, well, Irish students get free tuition. We get the international students get the Irish tuition taken off, but you also get free on-campus housing for the next 2 years, and you get 3 free meals a day. So that's a very interesting and unique thing that Trinity has to offer.
Game changer. And Mia.
For McGill, as an engineering student, I pay about 32, and that can increase or decrease by 3% depending on the Quebec government. As I think McMaster mentioned, that if you have a Canadian passport, that can decrease significantly to prices around like 1,800 for your tuition. And then something that's also quite interesting about McGill is because we are part of the larger Quebec. If you study French at McGill, then that also can decrease your tuition.
Perfect. Van?
Yes. So Minerva, I pay about 40,000 USD per year, and I think the tuition right now is like 45. But they like Abu Dhabi, they have financial aid, which is very like available to students. So most of my friends are on financial aid, which also includes work study. So you do like an internship with the school, and they will pay you. I think it's like 2,500 USD per year per semester to cover your living expenses. And then so most people pay less than the total tuition to come, and then that's just applied based on your family income, and all of the financial aid is need based, so it's not based on your academic performance, it's based on what your family needs. So all of that money goes to the students who.
Awesome. So you've all just given such amazing advice, and you shared such amazing experiences. Everybody in the audience now wants to apply to an international university. So for our final question, If there was a student that and family that was interested in applying to an international university or potentially enrolling at a university abroad, what is one piece of advice that you would want to give them about the application process or about the experience itself being a current student at an international university? What's something that you would want to share that maybe would have helped you as you were navigating this process, making this decision, or acclimating to a new university? Mia.
For me, obviously, within moderation, but do things that scare you genuinely. Like being international is like step one, but even when you're here, you're interacting with people who you might not have anything in common with. You're independent, your family might be far from you. That doesn't mean you cannot call them, but that means that you need to take initiative in certain aspects of your life. And in certain moments, that can seem quite daunting and scary, but all of the things that you do that scare you eventually, you know, make you learn so much, not only about yourself, but about your potential and who you can be. And within my first year, McGill's a quite rigorous school academically, and I definitely felt that. But it truly feels so rewarding when you just put yourself out there and try your hardest and do things that scare you.
Well said. Teddy?
I would agree. And I'd also say that don't forget that you are like in a different country, in a different culture. Because I think when you're outside of home, it's really easy to gravitate towards people that remind you of home, and that, maybe are from the place that you're from or something like that. But I think you're doing yourself a real disservice if you go to an international university and then all of your friends are also American. Or you don't really try and like integrate with the culture or learn the language if there's a different language spoken. I think really just try and take advantage of all the opportunities that you're giving yourself, because there are so many.
Yeah.
I just really like to reiterate that, really start by searching the area of study itself, unless you're undecided, because it will open up so many opportunities for you in terms of looking at institutions that you might not have ever considered or heard of, that might be in a country that you hadn't considered. We at Sheffield are the number one university in the world for information and library sciences, but nobody knows that because we're so well known for our STEM courses. So it's one of those things where you just really have to do your research. And I always recommend starting with the area of study first in your research rather than a name. That way you can really see just all of the opportunities that are out there and find the experience that's the best fit for you. Thanks.
Awesome. Andy.
I'll conclude by saying if you're even slightly curious in international education, simply go to the website, ask Google, ask ChatGPT for some preliminary information, and ask those original questions to see if the options matches with your interest. And as you go through that journey, as Mia has and Teddy and the others have gone through, there's an amazing amount of support out there for you. Working in the admission counseling space, there are conferences and counterparts that we convene every year at conferences to discuss how we can support students on their journey. And if you're just remotely curious, certainly take advantage of those support mechanisms so that you can really achieve your aspirations and goals that you want in your academic journey and your career.
Awesome. Any final pieces of advice before we close out our program? Yeah, Ayo?
Yeah, I guess one small thing is that, with international education, I think the students highlighted it very beautifully. Just be prepared for change. It's going to be a different environment. There's a lot of things that you didn't expect that might happen. You might be in uncomfortable situations and learn how to kind of navigate that. Meeting people from all across the world. It's a very different experience. I remember because I grew up in Chicago and I went to NYPW, and I went in with one plan, and like all of that 5-year plan that I had kind of just went into the trash because so many things have changed and my perception of the world has changed. And I met so many different people from different parts of the world that really kind of, made me rethink a lot of my choices, and forced me to get out of my bubble. And that's kind of the experience you get from being in an international setting or kind of taking that risk to go somewhere different. So, if you want that kind of experience, if you want to embark that change or kind of, rewire your mindset a little bit and see the world from a different perspective, I really highly, highly recommend that you would consider studying abroad, and having that experience.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Attendees, thank you so much for coming tonight to learn more about an international education and these specific international universities. A huge, huge, huge thank you to all of our panelists and the admissions representatives, as well as the current BC alums that are current international students. It's such a pleasure seeing you all again, but we want to thank you all for joining us tonight. And we hope you all have a wonderful day. And if you have any questions about this program or anything that you learned in this program, we encourage you all to reach out to your school's college counseling office to get more information, learn more about the international education and application process. And yeah, other than that, it's absolutely fabulous. Thank you again one more time, and we hope you all have a fabulous night.